This is Advisor 3.0, a show designed to help you as a financial advisor elevate your professional practice, transform your clients' lives, and take your business to the next level. I am Abraham Okusanya. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Advisor 3.0 podcast. I am Abraham Okusanya. Over the last 2 decades or so, we've seen this complete transformation in the business of financial planning from the traditional product-led financial advice to lifestyle financial planning that is focused on the person, the client, and helping them live a fulfilled life. What's often less talked about is the less glamorous part of that transformation, the financial advice business that is going through change. And that's why I'm excited by my guest today. Paul McCoubrey is gone through a transition, taking his firm and his business partner through a change from a traditional financial planning, financial advice business to a lifestyle financial planning business. Paul is a director and a financial planner at Navigate IFA, which is based in Northern Ireland. Paul, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Abraham. Thank you for the opportunity.
So, Paul, give us a sense of your journey in financial service, where you started and how you began your career to where you are today.
I started 25 years ago this year. I left school and I ended up in an estate agency, which had a close connection to our school. And like most people, I fell into the financial services. At that estate agency, there was a mortgage advisor, and he and I got on very well. And I used to think he came in at 10 and went home at 3. It was only later on that I realised he went home at 3 to do the school run, have dinner with the kids, and then went out and did his calls at night. But he drove a nice car, he wore nice suits, he looked the part. And I said, how do you do this? Estate agency, I knew it wasn't going to be for me. How do you do this? And he told me, look, you need to go and do your FPCs. And that was the start of it. That was like the door into it, Abraham. Then I've worked my way up. I was in an estate agency, which also had a mortgage business and an IFA business. I left there to go to Prudential when the man from the Pru got taken off the road. And I went to a sales unit there where you phoned customers with maturing endowments to try and get them to invest the maturity into the Pru bond. In that time, that was the best time of just work hard, play hard, lots of young, hungry people, and we all did our exams. And I then I then applied for a trainee job at 22 with one of the local banks, which was fantastic. I spent 4 years there. The training, Abraham, it was just brilliant. The first 15, 16 weeks were in a hotel, doing role play after role play. I get near do them with you now. Great training. And actually back then, they trained us to be holistic planners. But when you got into the branch in the real world, you became just a normal salesperson, which probably something we'll talk about the change. But they had 4 years there, 4 great years. But I always had it in me that I wanted to go out on my own. I went out in 2006, set up as a financial advisor. But at that time in Northern Ireland, especially, the property boom was in full flow. And I ended up doing more mortgages and more protection. The bank trained us how to be really, really good at protection. And been out on my own since 2006. And during that time, Abraham I started off as just under an AR of a network. Then I went on my own under a network. Then I was a partner in a directly authorized company. And then I merged my element of my business with Darren and Michael, who are the founders of Navigate. And I brought across, my client bank was probably 85% mortgage protection, 15 financial planning. And we merged together to create Navigate. And as times went on, 8.5 years later, we now have Navigate IFA, that we call Navigate Wealth, and then we have our Navigate Mortgages. So the Navigate Wealth isn't directly authorized. The Navigate Mortgages is part of the Primus network.
Fascinating stuff. Thank you for that, Paul. So you did this merger, 8 years ago,
Yes.
and at that point, what was the Navigate business? What did the Navigate business look like at that point?
Like a lot of businesses, especially in our industry, Abraham, Darren and Michael were made redundant from local banks. They then had really no option but to go out on their own. They actually ended up meeting they went underneath another business and were working out of them, but the person there didn't treat them right. So they just thought we need to set up on their own. They then set up on their own under the tenant network. We've all been friends for many years, Michael and I in particular. And Michael said, look, you've got a good mortgage business. We've got a good start of a financial, it would have been your traditional sort of IFA practice back then. Why don't we join forces? And that went on for about a year. And then we decided to join forces. And we then pushed on to create what is now the financial planning business with the mortgage on the side. And it's a different business and different sort of goals and objectives.
All right, good stuff. So give us a picture of the Navigate IFA business as it is today, the wealth business as it is today, and then we can unpack, the transformation that has gone on over the last couple of years.
Okay, so there's three directors, all advisors, and a fourth advisor called Matt, who has worked his way up with us and is now fully fledged. He's a certified, and he'll soon be a chartered financial planner. So 3 directors, 4 advisors, 1 power planner full-time with 3 client managers. One of those client managers, Jack's, only just joined us, and he's just starting his journey as a trainee planner. He hopefully in 3 years' time will be where Matt is today. And then we have 1 receptionist stroke admin. We have about 350 client families. That is down from last year because we've put a real focus on working with profitable clients, but it's just that is going to be an ever evolving, continually working at in order to try and just make the client bank a bit leaner and more profitable. But when you start with people at the beginning and they've been loyal to you and you would have taken anyone at the start, you have to do that in a polite and in the right way. So we've been working with that. So that's really the setup, the number of clients that we have within the business. And now we've moved from that sort of 3 plus a half type IFA practice to financial planning fee for the plan and implementation fee, and then an ongoing fee that is profitable. But again, all these things are a work in progress to try and make better and learn from.
So what prompted this journey to Damascus transformation? So you're Paul, actually. I was just thinking about this. I don't know if you're familiar with that biblical story of Saul, who used to persecute Jesus. Some people are horrified already. They're tuning off and dropping off this podcast. But then he had this amazing transformation. Changed his name to Paul and actually became, one of the most prominent preachers of his time, and is responsible apparently for something like a third of the New Testament Bible. Anyway. What was that journey for you? When did you stop thinking or start thinking, we're going to change this business completely to this new world of lifestyle financial planning?
I said to you there at the beginning, when I joined Northern Bank in 2002, we were put in a hotel for, I think it was like 16 weeks, give or take. And they had what we call back then shortfall screens, Abraham, about how to calculate life insurance deficit, retirement. And it was probably without knowing it then, it was sort of probably the beginning of the cash flow software that we have.
Right.
And when we were doing our training, we had to do financial plans that were 100 pages long because you were covering everything. Holistic financial planning, what was drummed into you. But as soon as you went into the branch, you became a salesman. You had 20 grand, 200 grand. You were to sell them to get them into one of 5 funds, I think it was. Yeah. And my first observation by a manager who's still a good friend today was actually he ripped it up because this lady had maybe 15,000 and I tried to do a full holistic financial plan, and it just, the first meeting, it was terrible, and he just ripped it up and says, I think we need to start again. And I was just you became the salesperson. So, but if you think back to that, the guy that trains us is also still a friend. Because Michael and I worked together back then, my partner, so we're still friends with a lot of the older managers. But that was the start of it. Then in about 2014, I came across Back to Why with Paul McCoubrey.
Right.
And watching him, following him, I went to Back to Why and I went, this is the stuff that we were talking about in 2002, except it was being done better. And the first Back to Why, like Alan Smith spoke at that, Ruth Sturkey, people that I look up to now from afar in our industry, thought, right, here's the future. The challenge then is how do you make that the reality? And that has taken a while. I joined Navigate. Darren and Michael were still doing it the old-fashioned way, but Darren was doing his pension exams and a lot around the final salary, whatever that exam is, and obviously cash flow planning within that. Darren picked up cash flow planning. Cash Calc then came out then. And all of a sudden, we started to see all the components, but we didn't have a process or how do we put it in place. And I guess the answer was that we had a good understanding what an ideal process would look like, but we didn't know how to get there just yet, and we just worked at it. And I suppose the introduction, meeting Paul McCoubrey, seeing how others were doing it, I then spoke to other advisors in Northern Ireland who were doing it, brought Cash Calc in, and just started working at it, Abraham, and every day, every week, you're trying to just, how can you make it better and how can you do it better? And over time, and I now have no clients in that old IFA approach. They all have a financial plan, but we do within the business still have some of those older clients, but some of those clients, and we're just continually working at it to get it that way. But if anyone comes to us today, the process is you have no plan, no portfolio. So we've got to understand where we're doing and how we can help them.
Yeah, that's incredible. And was there a complete alignment between the three of you directors of the business in terms of, going in this direction and the pace of change? Or was there some sort of friction?
I wouldn't say it was friction, but I also wouldn't say it was agreement. I had seen the light, to use your analogy. I had seen the light. And then Darren, with the final salary transfer work, seeing the importance of cash flow. Michael is just brilliant with people and still is to this day. So I think Michael probably didn't think at the time it was as valuable and as transformational as it is. But as time's gone on, and the proof's in the pudding, and Abraham, when you see people retiring earlier through the work you've done, or you see people spending money on a holiday that they would never have spent before, then the shit gets real, doesn't it? Excuse me, French.
It does indeed.
That's what brings it. That's what brings it round.
Now let's go into some numbers, shall we? So you've now transformed the business. Give us a picture of how the numbers stack up today.
So when you're looking, so as I said, 350 client families, I knew you would ask this. I think.
Yeah, I love drilling into these figures. Well, please go.
It's a good time to be doing it. We just finished our financial year at the end of July.
Right.
But I think one of the things I would say was 2 years ago, we as a business decided that we would join Brett Davidson's Uncover Your Business Potential course. Right. And it's hard to say. Do you ever get in your own business that you say things or do things and you feel a bit embarrassed because you just take it that it's so simple or basic, you would imagine every business is doing it like this? But I think we sort of woke up to the potential that there is in financial planning. We'd seen older advisors retiring, especially in Northern Ireland. I still go to the PFS CPD event. I still feel like one of the youngest. So there was a light bulb came or whatever. Brett's course then came at the right time and we thought, right, we're going to get real about this. So I've just finished year 2 of 3 with him. So I think I had to say that because when you look at our figures and how in the last years compared to the year before, we put some things in place and we're now seeing, we're starting to reap the benefits. But as I say, 350 client families. We as directors take a generous basic package, as we call it, and then we take 6-month dividends depending on performance of the business. You're looking at after all costs and directors' remuneration at about 16% left profit margin. Before that, it's in around 45. Turnover last year was just under 830. This is one of the headlines for us, with 77% ongoing, 23% initial fees, which, to give you an idea, a year before it was about 90-10. And I remember Brett saying to me, it should be 75-25. If you're a hungry, young, sort of state-of-the-art financial planning practice, which I believe we are, you should be 75-25. And I thought, wow.
So 75 in ongoing fees and 25 in initial fees.
Yes. And last year we got it to 77-23, Abraham, which is just 200 grand of initial fees. That was up from just under 70 the year before. So AUM, I reckon we're around 100 million, but I don't worry about AUM. I focus on ongoing fees because Matt is our planner. He's 32. He's working with a lot of really good accumulators who just pay a fixed fee every month. So the AUM total amount is around 100. Last year we brought in 18 million, but what I look for is more the ongoing fees and how they're tracking and where they're going.
That's incredible stuff. So when did Matt actually started practicing, just broadly speaking?
Started with us coming up to 5 years ago as a very good paraplanner from one of the big accountancy financial planning practices. And then he became a shadow advisor probably 2.5 years ago. So that was just work with me, became my sidekick. And then he basically it's taken about 2 years where he started shadowing me, writing up all the notes after, doing a lot of the prep. Then I started letting him present like cash flow in meetings. And he's been standing on his own 2 feet for just over a year now. And it's been it's another very good success story. It's been hard work at times. It takes time, effort. But now when you see him bringing in clients, they become clients, good clients too. He doesn't have the legacy that Darren, Michael and I had with clients before with small AUM. He's starting clean. So he's able to learn from the stuff that I've learned, and he's able to put that in practice quite easier than me. And it's working really well.
That's incredible. So essentially, the structure you've got, and please forgive me, this is my view, not yours. Is I think you said it earlier. You got 3.5 advisors. It sounds terrible, I know. 1 paraplanner and 3 client managers and one receptionist, if you like.
Holding midfielder, I call her. Does everything.
Yeah, that's good. I like the structure. So the client managers, what do they do? Is that the traditional, what we would traditionally call administrators in the firm, in the industry?
Yeah. So we're trying to move towards the annual planning meeting process, obviously taken by advisors, but we want it that they are involved in that. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean they sit in every meeting, but like majority of my clients, we have a WhatsApp group. So that would be me, you, your wife, and the client manager. And it's all about for the withdrawals, for the top-ups, for that they're there, that they know I'm in meetings most of the day. They don't need me for everything. They need to be speaking to. So we've worked a lot on that, Abraham, to make them part of the process. And the whole idea is we're still in a growth stage. We still want to get more clients on board. So I am best suited to be out and about networking, doing the likes of the podcast, trying to bring in the new clients. And then once we have the new clients, then the client manager to build a relationship that if the client ever needs anything, they know who to go to for those small administrative tasks. Obviously, I'm in the WhatsApp group and I encourage them if a client is worried about something or there's something comes up, they just put it in the WhatsApp group and say, Paul, would you give me a call when you get a chance? And it works really, really well. And I'm just trying to get to the stage there, the work that we have to do after a meeting being less and less.
And so the the three of you, or the four of you, you share the same paraplanner, the one paraplanner, or is there some outsourcing going on there?
No, at the minute we have only one, but that is probably the only bottleneck in the business at the minute.
Right.
At this, as I stand today, it's not a bottleneck. She's coping, but we're all coming off a summer where we relaxed a bit and had time off. It's an area that we're looking at. We have used outsourcing in the past. We used the fantastic service Paradox, and that we are continually saying, at what stage do we need to engage them again? So I guess in the growth story, our next step is that we're really using that outsource more. So that's the only time we have a bit of a bottleneck. But to say a bottleneck, you might have to wait 2 weeks for a report to come out, Abraham. It's not, it's manageable.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to know what the ultimate split is. Do you go one power planner to an advisor with one client manager? So you have this, team of three. I mean, I've had people talk about a diamond team, but I guess ultimately it depends on, the size of the client bank that each advisor is serving. And ultimately, this comes down to the economics, the revenue that they're generating, being able to pay for the support team that they have.
Yeah. And I think it would be fair. Our power planner doesn't do anything with annual planning meetings.
Right.
So we don't send a report anymore to confirm suitability. We do it slightly different. The client manager does that. The client managers do a lot of the upfront pension comparisons, et cetera, et cetera. So we've focused a lot on we're potentially have a half of client manager too much, but our thoughts are we want to grow. We've got Jack, who's my client manager, is on that road to becoming an advisor. So we wanted to have a bit more capacity than we're needed. But if that's the case, then we want them doing more of the stuff to help the power planner. So it's something that I'm continually looking at. The other thing is, Abraham, when you get to a certain level within the business, you don't take everyone on as a client. You sort of know what the ideal client looks like. So if you look at our number of cases, there's not as many as maybe a year or two ago, because we're not taking everybody on. We're prepared to say, look, we're not the right firm for you at the minute, and we have got alternatives to, for example, a friend of mine who's just started out and he would do lower amounts, or do you know what I mean?
Yeah, we'll come back to that question around I hate this phrase, segmentation of the client, in a second. But one of the fascinating things that you were talking about earlier on is how you divvy, I guess, the cost in the business, so you obviously have the revenue generated by the business. And then you said something along the lines of 75% of that is recurring fee, and 25% of that is, in initial fee. And I've had this conversation with planners, from time to time, where, you might see a firm typically doing, they say, 85% of our revenue, maybe even 90% of our revenue is recurring fees, and about 10% is, initial fee. Part of that may well be because the firm decides not to charge an initial fee, and they decide to just, charge the ongoing fee. But the implication of that is that they often have to move the minimum quite high in terms of, it might be that they don't take clients below 250,000, let's say, maybe even higher. I guess the question I'm getting to is, or that might mean that they're not growing as much as a firm, so they're mostly serving the existing clients. So I just wanted to understand how you square what your thinking is around that split of initial fee versus ongoing fee. What does that mean for the size of clients that you can take? Have you had that conversation about charging or not charging, or the merits of charging an initial fee, and how does that stack up?
Okay, Flip, you must have about 10 questions in one there. So we believe in we charge a financial planning fee that ranges from 1,500 to 5,000 for your financial plan. Implementation fee, 1% of the amount invested, subject to a minimum of 500. And then we charge ongoing of 1% on the first 300 and then 0.5% for the amounts over it. It is not perfect, and I don't think anybody has the perfect fee structure. I don't like the way that the implementation can be more than the financial planning fee in some stages, because that's where the value. But when clients don't understand what a proper financial planner does, it is difficult to demonstrate the value. So we would love to be fixed fee in an ideal world, but when you've got an old client bank, it becomes very difficult. For an ongoing basis, 350 client families, Abraham, there's still many of those are below our minimum of 1,500 a year. I think 1,500 is far too cheap, but it's a work in progress. We will get that up to 1,800 by the start of next year, and we'll continually work at it. Those clients that fall below that, if they're under 1,000, we'll be politely disengaging with them and just saying to them, look, our fees have gone up, but they don't need us typically. We're not providing it's just not worth their while. That has gone down really well because they contact us if they need anything. And look, if it's a withdrawal or something, I don't mind doing it for them. They were there at the beginning, and that it's the right way of looking after our clients. But as we go forward, we're in a growth stage, so we need more new clients. We need more new clients at the right net worth. But we've got to balance this whole, Matt being 32, the advisor gap that we have. So we have a minimum fee of 1,500. That's, you have to meet that to be able to do it. But that could be you as a business owner paying £125 a month directly. It doesn't bother. That doesn't worry me. It's about building that, and Matt's done that really, really well. We brought a service in, Abraham, that we didn't expect. Because Matt being a bit younger, for him to find the ideal client, it's difficult. We decided that we brought in what we call a foundation service. So we looked at the advisor gap. We thought, how are we going to broach this? And long story short is, we teamed up with Pete Matthews, and we got discount in his university. So if we meet someone and we know they don't need us at the stage, we'll give them the code to Pete's university, let them do a bit of education themselves. We then created what we call as a foundation service, which is where Matt would do a financial plan. He would look at your protection mortgage. We have a mortgage team, so we can review the mortgage. And we would set you up with a pension or ISA, but we would set it up that you get an hour of investment risk education. And at the end of that, you would have your platform, your pension, and your ISA, and the direct debit set up. Now, if someone needs to change anything, we're happy to do it. We'll see how it goes. But it has been very good, Abraham. So I was just looking, around 70% of those that started over the last 2 years as a foundation client are now a full fee paying client, because as they went through the process with Matt, they could see the value. And then a lot of these are people who are typically higher rate taxpayers and more. They've got good surplus income anyway. They start to see the benefit of it, and they want the relationship. And I think that has been the biggest. And unexpectedly, it wasn't planned. We were just trying to put something in place to help as many people as we can. And it's worked really, really well. So going back to your 75-25, when you're growing, we want to get the number of clients up of good, profitable clients and continue to reduce the unprofitable client in the right way. So we have to continue with the new business. We have to charge upfront fees, and then we'll see where we go. But my plan for the future is Jack is going to be an advisor in the next 2 to 3 years. That's how I've done it on the mortgage side. We're into our third trainee advisor who's just been signed off. This is how I'm going to grow our business, is growing from within, slowly with the right people. So you're always going to need the influx of new clients.
I love that incredible success story of bringing Matt in internally and upskilling him to an advisor, and then of course incredible story around that foundation's proposition. So let me understand that a little bit. So a client comes in who isn't, a prospect comes in who isn't maybe ready for the full service of initial 1,500 initial fee and maybe the ongoing minimum of 1,500 a year. So what do? You put them, you send them through this training, that my friend Pete Matthew is created, and then what is the fee when they do decide to, for Matt to do some sort of initial plan for them?
Yeah. Okay, so the Pete Matthews bit is for people who aren't even at foundations yet.
Right.
They're maybe young, maybe young. They've maybe been a referral from the mortgage business, and they just need £100 a month, £200 a month. That the service that Matt provides is a one-off fee of £995. Now we started at £695 and we've got it to £995. So if that was you, Abraham, let's say you're doing £500 a month, £250 ISA pension. You just need to get them set up. Now, you can go online and do it with someone like Vanguard, obviously. But and one thing came out of COVID for me was that I only had two people that I can remember questioning me on the market fall. And they were two, let's say, friends. And they had asked me over a coffee what I would do to start a savings plan. And I've said, go to Vanguard, use Life Strategy. Yeah. And I thought both of them phoned me in a panic. And I thought, why are they phoning me and none of my clients are? And the reason was that they never had the education. And when I thought about that, I thought, hold on a wee second. I'll not be telling anybody over a beer or a coffee again. They need, and I've got podcasts now from likes of Pete, Andy Hart, who have done risk really well, that you tell them you need to educate yourself in this stuff first. So we thought, okay, well, that's the key. But what actually came out of that is for the 995 is, a lot of them have done protection business as well, Abraham. So there's maybe been 3-4 meetings. They've got to know Matt. They've got a relationship. Matt has really educated them, and they've went, hold on a wee second. This is, I get this now. And then they've went on to pay the fixed fee because they want the yearly contact. Incredible
stuff. All right. So the other thing I want to pick up, just as we were talking about the economics, is, so talk me through how you broke down the cost within the business to the direct cost. So you have this framework that Brett's given you through his program. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Brett has certain metrics that when he looks at the best firms, different sizes, et cetera, and breaks down. So a wee bit like when I look at our progress from 2 years ago to now, our number of cases is up like 150%. So the first thing was to get more leads, to do more cases, to get more initial fees and more ongoing fees, et cetera, et cetera. That then leads into the management account and the MI. Brett's formula is 40% direct expenses, which is all advisor basic remuneration, all advisor costs and introducer costs.
Right.
40%. Overheads, around 35%, leaving 25% for bonus for profit. We are currently at 37 direct, 48 overhead, and 15, which was worrying me, but I've chatted this through because of our setup with 3 client managers, 1 admin or 1 receptionist and a power planner. He's comfortable at that, but obviously we'll look to get that down. But like any business, we're putting as much through as we can as a business expense, et cetera, et cetera. So he was comfortable with it. I guess for this year, I want to see direct expenses go up to about 40 because we'll be taking a bit more out in a basic package and get the overheads down. But anyone running the business knows at the minute every bill comes in has a significant increase on it at the minute, and it's difficult. That just gives you something to work with, a really good blueprint, and making sure you understand your numbers and, okay, what are the things that we need to tweak and what we need to look at. But I'm the type, yes, you've got to keep an eye on overhead. I'd rather focus my attention on, right, how do we get more clients?
Yeah. No, I like that. So just to recap that, it's 40% direct cost, which is essentially the cost of the advisor, 35% overhead, which includes the cost of the admin support and para planning, maybe some marketing as well in that.
Yeah, everything.
And that leaves
all
the bottom line of about 25.
Yes, and that's after paying the directors taking a good basic remuneration that would be the equivalent of working in a top big advice firm at the.
Right.
So
sorry, go on.
No, I say, so you pay yourself a good basic for doing the job, and then the profit, the dividend that you take, ours is every 6 months, should be based on how business performance, leaving some in the business for future projects, future growth, and then taking a nice dividend twice a year to whatever that it may be that you want to do.
Yeah. I mean, I think, like if you look at the FCA data, you see this. A typical solo advice firm will have a pre-tax profit of around 43%, but that's because they are not, in a limited company structure, most of them are, you're not accounting for the full cost of the advisor. The advisor will typically take a lower salary, and then of course, they'll take most of their remuneration as dividends. But what you find is that as you go up in terms of the number of advisors within the firm, so when you get to 6 to 50 advisor firms, where it's really hard to do that, you really have to, account for the full cost of the advisor. What you tend to find is that the profit margin is around 17.5%, and so your target of 25 for a firm of 4 advisors is actually that seems like a great target, and of course it comes from Brett Davison, so he must be right. Brett's always right, I say.
Yeah. What it does to Abraham is give you a framework on which to work. It's like anything. It's like your own budget. It's being aware of it. So, for example, the amount that we took out this last financial year compared to the year was exactly the same, even though we had a much more successful year. So at the face it, you're going, how is that the case? But actually, when you go and look at it, we made our power planner full time. We brought on a new client manager. We did new website. We were able to go and say, well, hold on a minute. The additional profit that was there was spent on future growth.
Absolutely.
We're taking enough out. Yeah, we're taking enough out that we're funding our pensions, our ISA, living the best life, and it's where we're at as a point in time. Hopefully in 6 months, when it comes next 6 month dividend, we'll be able to take a bit more. But what it does is put rationale behind what you're doing, why you're doing it. What you've also got to factor in is my business partner, Darren, is nearly 10 years older than me. He is not one to be working at the same pace that I'm working at. And it's about, okay, well, how do we all ensure that we have great summers? And that's so, but it just allows you to have a framework or to work within, and you understand it. Then you park it and you get on with things, and you
absolutely. And look, there are people who would be listening to this and they will think, oh, your client might listen to this. How will they feel, seeing how you break down, the nitty gritty of the numbers within your business? I actually feel that this is incredibly important, that the client, understand, they do understand that, this is a business. This is a business that is growing. This is a business that is thinking about its own finances, its own growth, its own future, just the way we encourage clients to think and to be, what's the word I'm looking for? To be pragmatic or clear about their own personal finance.
Yeah, there's 2 points to that. The first one is, and I just had a baby daughter, but before my daughter Lucia came along with it, thank you, I'd have been holidaying a lot, and I would have got clients that would have said, are you away again? And I used to say, well, you wouldn't hire an overweight personal trainer, would you? And they laughed. And so if you think about it, you wouldn't have a fat personal trainer, so you want a financial planner.
A poor financial planner is a poor financial planner.
Yeah, you want them who live their best life, because then they could educate you. Then take it to the level of business. we understand our numbers, but that also works for the clients. The last year, we've been doing a lot around tidying up. We had a lot of clients in different platforms. We're getting them streamlined. Fundment came along. We obviously teamed up with Timeline, and we sat the clients down and explained why we were doing it to try and save them money, because one of our investment principles is costs are critical. And so if you can demonstrate it both at a business level and at the client level, then you're winning. And I suppose the point you're then making is that client listening to me talk like this is going, these guys actually are on this. You know, do you want the company that runs like a business and does their best? Our clients all know what they're paying. They all know what they get. They've, it works well. So they go, flip, these guys are actually on it. They know it. So that's the way that I sort of, there's nothing to hide. We're in business to make money, but we're in it in a right way to look after people, be upfront and honest and get on with it.
Yeah, incredible stuff. And look, when you have to, have this conversation with clients, I'm interested in how you do it. Like, it could be one of the, heartbreaking stuff that happens in this business that, you've grown the business with these clients who were there in the early days, who were prepared, you took a risk on them, or they take a risk on you when you were starting out, and they might have, moved firms with you. And then there comes a point where there has to be, parting of ways because the economics no longer stacks up. How do you even begin to have that very difficult, very challenging conversation?
So are we talking about clients that you're actually disengaging from, or are we talking about clients where you're increasing their fee? The disengaging one is actually quite...
Start with the disengaging, and we'll talk about increasing fees.
The disengaging one I find easier. So typically they will be well below the new minimum. Typically, you're managing their investments. They might have a financial plan, but it's probably very straightforward. Or maybe they were there before they did all my clients have a financial plan, but some of them will say, you've got enough or you've got too much, give it away, gift it. Whether they do or not, it's their decision. And the conversation is really around, look, we've got a new minimum, but as I look at it, look, I don't think that we offer the value to you. And I don't think it's worth you paying. So what I would suggest is that we know you no longer pay us a fee. We don't have to contractually meet every year. But look, I am there for you if you need anything. And that's the bit that you have to be willing to do. So when you get a withdrawal request or they phone you, you phone them back. And as long as you stick by those principles and do things right, that I actually had a lady in tears when I was there at one time for, and I was like, I'm still here for you. Since then, her husband's passed away, and I've been there for her to help her with getting everything sorted and doing it. So it just becomes, and some clients have thanked us for the honesty. The increase in the fees is the more difficult one.
Right.
No one likes to see their fees go up. 0.5% to 0.75, 0.5% to 1 is difficult. I think for anyone doing it, the best bit of advice I got, and I can't remember who it was, but it was an advisor from the IFA Google forum that Nick Lincoln started. And he had spoken about it in the forum. If you're not in that forum, you should be, because it's just a fountain of knowledge. But he just said to me, Paul, you just need to man up and go for it. And there are still people that I haven't manned up and gone for it, Abraham, that I need to grow a set and do. That is harder. But let's think about it. If I think back to 5 years ago, there was no cash flow planning. There was no timeline planning. There was no using Loom to record those timeline plannings. There was no jumping onto Zoom. I, in that time, I've just passed the case study to become a certified financial planner. We've brought in a client portal. So if you look at the journey, we are investing money in making the client experience better. And for that, there has to become a fee. And you just have to have a bit of courage and just go for it. And if they leave you, then look, it's up to them. They're going to have to go and find a new advisor. And when I look at our fees, I think our fees are still on the cheap side. I think we could do more. Northern Ireland is very different from the south of England, and we're working with that. We still have a lot of 3+ halves in Northern Ireland of the rules, even from the bigger firms, the big accountancy advice practices. So there's just a wee bit of difference. But if you can demonstrate that's why you're doing it, it's very much up to the client. And to go and find a new financial advisor at less cost, that I would be questioning the quality that they're getting.
Talk a little bit about the what led you to write the book, what the book's all about, and maybe you can talk. Maybe we can use that as a segue into how you attract new clients.
The books, which I haven't looked at for many years. Long story short, I've always felt incredibly grateful for. I learned really from my father and then working in a bank how to manage money at a young age, which meant that I made my mistakes at a very young age and was able then to get on and do things. So I feel very grateful that I've fallen into the industry that we're in. It's fantastic. And I always, my dad made me read Rich Dad, Poor Dad when I was about 18. Obviously, I didn't read it, but I did end up reading it in my early 20s. And I ended up enjoying teaching and trying to help people. And I was part of a mastermind group, and they said, look, you should write a book. And me and a life coach within that group put the first book together, which was just about the basics. Everything exactly that Pete Matthews has done, I had in my head under a brand, which was like a cartoon type theme called Your Money Mate. I then wrote a second book around buying your first home in Northern Ireland. And again, I was doing a lot of mortgages, and you were spending a lot of time taking people through the process, and it was just to do. So I put them together, and the brand, if you think of Meaningful Money, what Andy's Hart has done with Maven, those type of things is what I envisaged 10 years ago. But then as the business started to grow, it grew Navigate, and I seen where I wanted to go with my own career. It just got left behind. But I often think about going back to the first book and redoing it and publish it to use it for new client work.
Good stuff. Right. So as we begin to wrap this up, is there anything that you want to talk about that I haven't talked about? I'm conscious that we've gone round about the business and talked about a number of things, but have I missed out anything?
I can't think. I think when I go back to, obviously, Brett's got mentioned a lot, and I would obviously highly recommend his course. But what I've learned is over this last 2 years is there is no magic powder for what we do, no secret sauce. It's about doing everything correct. So simple things like recording your leads, where did they come from, why did they contact you, what happened with them, to tracking your number of first appointments, and doing the basics right. And it means spreadsheet after spreadsheet. But after time, success leaves clues, and you notice patterns, and you notice things that maybe come out of sync. So to give you an example, when I look at our initial fees to the year before, they haven't gone up that much. Now, an element of that will be Matt and doing with younger accumulators, but it was very much our fees are 1,500 to 5,000. When I interrogated it, we were only really charging 1,500 or $2,000. The 2.5 is for like 3 pensions or more. There's been lots of it. We need to be charging more. So if we can turn that a little bit, it's only going to make the business. So it's like the 1% rule, and just trying to do things better. So I think for everyone out there, I would have been like this, where I would thinking that, there's so much to do in the business. We need to do this. We need to do that. But there is no such thing as a perfect business. As a financial planner community, there's sometimes people get into arguments, and you can watch from afar that someone may have the perfect business. They don't. We've all got opinions. Do what's right for you and do what's right for your clients, and just continually work at it. And when I look at the next year or our next financial year, Abraham, we need to get more leads. We're not getting enough leads, so we need to get ourselves out there. We need to be doing more marketing. We've recently done client testimonial videos that are on the website. Marketing itself has become a monster. We work with Yardstick. The other things is we have to be continually increasing our fees, challenging that to clients that I haven't spoke to about increasing. I need to do it, and just continually be working at things. So as I say, there's no secret sauce. You just got to work at it. And when I look back, I go, wow, this is working. So, and again, it goes back to financial planning, doesn't it? Just stick to the plan, set the plan, know what you want to achieve, put it in place and stick to it.
It's incredible. I mean, like it's even that we have to say this is, is interesting in its own, that what you said, track your numbers. And that comes across in this conversation that, just in the past year, you increased new clients by 177%, and then that follows on ultimately to increasing new AUM and ultimately increasing the overall revenue of the business. It means that you can serve the clients better. You can put more money into marketing, of course, but more money into serving the client. So, entirely agree with that.
And the other thing, Abraham, last thing, once you've raised the bar, you can't let it drop.
No.
So you're only going one way once you start doing this stuff.
Absolutely. Is there anything that you that has been the most difficult part of the journey for you? Is there any low points over that period of transforming the business? Yeah. What would it be?
All the usual stuff, Abraham, around obviously staff, recruiting wrong.
Yeah.
Not having a plan. My first ever trainee advisor I let go after 3 months because I never had a plan. Sounds embarrassing, but I didn't have the time frames, the milestones in place, and I just wanted it to change overnight. When you're taking on a shadow advisor, it's time, and that can feel suffocating at times because they're in every meeting with you, they're sitting beside you all the time. It's difficult. So definitely been mistakes there. There's been mistakes. I'm very spreadsheet based, Abraham, where I've let the spreadsheet to take the decisions and not taking a step. I don't know if you know what I mean by that, but maybe the spreadsheet doesn't look great and you tend to let it get you when it's just a bloody spreadsheet. Get back to So like running any business, there's been challenges. The technology, obviously, in our industry is a continual challenge in trying to make things as efficient as possible. But you're going to cure all that over the next wee while, I'm sure. But I think to finish on a positive note, I'm 43. What a place to work. You can really make a difference to your clients, their client lives, do things right. It's brilliant. And the opportunity is getting more and more as the older advisors retire and sell their client banks to call centers.
Yeah, so you're 43, about the same age as me. So we're sitting in 5 years' time. Let's move it a bit forward. Where you've invited me to have a drink for your 50th birthday. So that will be about 7 years' time. Talk to me about what Navigate IFA is at that point.
Well, with two things to manage there is 7 years' time, Darren is approaching 60. What's Darren's plans? How does he get out? I think as you asked me so we've got to balance that. To date, we haven't seen anyone that we would sell to, that we feel comfortable selling to, but we're not wanting to be sold and we don't. So I haven't really looked at that. I know where we're going in the next 5 years it's about bringing the younger advisors in and putting a layer underneath. We already have the mortgage business that's already started that. One of the guys who came in as my shadow advisor 5.5 years ago has now become director. He has been given some shares and he's going to buy some shares. And I see that happening again in the IFA practice. And we'll just have a layer of junior financial advisors. My own future plans is I would like to have interest maybe in other business, maybe do some sort of non-exec work with the financial planning where I'm talking into my 50s here. I'm not managing the business as hands-on as I am today. So the junior wants maybe to buy some office or just to allow us to go down to 4 days, 3 days. And I think if I was sitting in 7 years' time, we'd be sitting with maybe 3 to 5 advisors under Darren, Michael and I, and us having a clear plan as to what the end date. But Michael and I in particular expect to be doing this job into your 60s, but maybe only a couple of days a week with a small client bank that you just as we say in Northern Ireland, you just enjoy the crack.
Incredible stuff. Paul McCoubrey, thank you for your time and wisdom, and thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you, Abraham.
That's a wrap on today's show. Massive thanks to my production crew, especially Jake Osha, Melissa Canham, and the entire team. and of course to our sponsor, Timeline, the market-leading provider of integrated planning technology and model portfolio service to advisors. I do hope you've enjoyed today's show. Head over to Apple Podcast and give us your review there. Until next time, goodbye.